Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome to the Etiquette and Protocol channel. I'm Juliana Santiago, and in today's video, I'm going to show you some table etiquette mistakes you might be making. I could make several videos like this or teach many hours of classes on this subject. It's no wonder that in our courses, table etiquette is always a highly requested topic by our students, and it's always a big module within our courses. If you're new and unfamiliar with our school, check the link in the description. Subscribe to the Etiquette and Protocol channel here. Here we have weekly videos always on Wednesdays. Go ahead and give it a like here so I know you're enjoying this channel. And that's it. So let's get to the content of the video. The first aspect is always about the use of the napkin. Every time you are presented with a napkin, you should place it, especially when it's made of cloth, on your body. You can place the napkin open, but when the napkin is larger, like the one I brought here for today's video, you can fold it. So this fold here, it should be facing you, okay? It should be facing your body. So the first mistake people make that they slip up on is not using the napkin, especially when it comes to the cloth napkin. People sometimes ignore the presence of the napkin and don't put it on their lap. So every time you sit at the table, ideally, you should pay attention to the presentation of the napkin and the correct position of the napkin, made of fabric, which should stay on your lap throughout the entire meal. The second aspect is the issue of leaning your body toward the table. Instead of maintaining good posture and also doing what? Making your body go toward the fork instead of bringing the fork with food to your mouth. This is a very common mistake that maybe you, who already have some knowledge of table etiquette, might even consider too simple. But if you start to observe and analyze, for example, when someone is sitting at the table with you, or even at a restaurant or a buffet, you'll notice that this is a very common mistake. Because people have this habit of bringing their mouth to the fork, leaning over the table, and not maintaining good posture so that the fork brings the food to the mouth. Of course, there are some particularities when it comes to table etiquette. And in other videos, I can talk about eating specific foods that have a different process when it comes to eating, like soup, where we use a spoon, or even spaghetti, where we use a fork. With this type of food, we can lean over a little bit. Of course, not too much, just a little. But as I said, these are exceptions within the standards of table etiquette. Ideally, you should always remember that the fork is what brings the food to your mouth. As a rule, it's the fork that has this function. Another helpful aspect, to maintain good posture during the meal, don't lean your back too much against the backrest of the chair. I mentioned this in a previous video, which I'll link here. In the cards where I talk about ways to be more elegant, I also talk a bit about posture when sitting. So you just need to keep your feet parallel, touching the floor, and not rest your back against the back of the chair. Because imagine you can't eat like this here. It won't show good posture. It'll just be a mess. And in the case of women as well, this aspect also helps with posture and keeping your hair organized, which should always be kept back. But if you don't do this, the chance of hair falling into your food is much lower. Another aspect also related to table etiquette, which can also be a bit simple, is that I consider the information in this video to be introductory information regarding table etiquette. Practices that everyone should know, but unfortunately not everyone does. So, if you know, wonderful, you're on the right track. But a very common mistake is actually talking while holding the cutlery. Sometimes people start right there in the process of eating. And when they're talking to someone, they forget that they can rest their cutlery. You don't need to keep holding them, staying ready the whole time, or even gesture, talk. Picture yourself in a conversation, gesturing with a knife in one hand and a fork in the other. The person beside you might even feel a bit frightened. They're even afraid you might poke them in the eye with your fork. So remember that when you're talking, which isn't wrong to do during a meal, remember to rest your cutlery. Another thing that will really help you in this introductory part of table etiquette is understanding how to hold a glass the right way. You should never hold wine glasses, champagne glasses, or any glasses by the bowl, okay? Wine glasses, champagne glasses, or any type of drink glasses. Because the temperature of your hand transfers to the glass. And it can also leave those fingerprints marks from the natural oils on our hands, especially when you're in a slightly warmer environment. When we talk about Brazil, this is very common and it ends up being a bit inelegant, not so classy. So always remember to hold the glass by the stem, okay? Always remember to hold the glass by the stem. This one is a water glass. So you can also, if it has this little stem here, you can hold it as well, even though it's a water glass. But this rule is essential for you to practice when it comes to white wine glasses, which can also be used for rosé or sparkling wines, or sparkling wine and champagne glasses. Another aspect that is a common beginner's mistake and will really set you apart, and there's no need for you to do this, is filling your plate with food. You don't need to put a lot of food on your plate because it's not wrong. It's not impolite for you to go back for seconds. So if you're at someone's house, having lunch at your friend's house, your grandmother's house, your mother's house, or your mother-in-law's house, you can eat more than once. There's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, people will be happy if you want to have seconds. She'll think, wow, I really nailed that dish. She'll be very pleased. For a good hostess, nothing beats getting the food just right. That brings joy to the person because she feels special. The menu she prepared was a success. That's why there's no need for you to put too much food on your plate. Since you can have seconds, you can serve yourself a reasonable, generous amount. Especially when it comes to plates that have this rim, this design here, right? These details on the side, try to focus on placing the food in this central part, okay? We already know that nowadays there are plates that don't have such a defined rim, so ideally you should place the food in the center. When it comes to plates that have designs on the rim, it's easier for you to understand that the space meant for the food is this area in the middle. Keep items off the decorated area. Another important detail you should pay attention to in order to have good table manners is to avoid doing what? Little bits of food. You know when you take a piece of meat and cut it into several pieces to make it easier to eat? Unfortunately, we only do that with children. Ideally, you should cut one piece at a time and bring that piece to your mouth. So you cut a small piece, put it in your mouth, eat it, chew it, and everything is fine. Then you cut another small piece to bring to your mouth. So you shouldn't cut several small pieces to make this process easier for yourself. We know that when there are children or even older people or people with special needs, this rule obviously doesn't apply, but that's not what I'm talking about. In this case, it's best for you to cut little pieces one by one as you eat the meat. And before I give you the last piece of information, I wanted to ask you, are you already subscribed to the Educate Protocol channel? Have you already turned on the notification bell to receive all the video updates? Your subscription means a lot and helps and supports this channel. So if you're enjoying the content, you'll be here with me every Wednesday to check out the videos I'm releasing on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and also take the opportunity to like this channel and share it with other people, people you're sure will enjoy this topic, or even people who need to watch the information in this video. Well, the last point I wanted to share with you, this mistake, by the way, is something many people make. It's a very common mistake that I wanted to share with you, which is what? People, when they're eating, they keep eating, and make the whole thing a very fast process. They eat too fast in a very rushed and even robotic way. And then people always ask me, Juliana, when should I take small breaks? How often should I stop for a moment to breathe, to drink some water, to wipe my mouth, using a napkin? Well, in general, if I could give you some advice to slow down the eating process, the act of eating itself, it would be like this. You take about 4 bites at most, then you pause for a bit, then you wipe your mouth, take a breath, have some wine, drink some water, and then you go back to eating. This will naturally help you develop a more elegant and sophisticated behavior at the table. It will make all the difference for you to project good posture at the table and always get it right. By the way, if you want to know how to be a more elegant and sophisticated person, there's a video here on the side that I'll leave for you, where I talked about fundamental aspects that will make you a more sophisticated and elegant person. I'm sure you'll enjoy this content. Well, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. A new video is coming next week. Thanks so much and see you soon.